Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We hope you're keeping very, very safe and well. You just know, because I'm laughing at the intro, that means Antony Costa's on with me, because he always does this to me at the very start of every show, and he can't help himself. If you're listening to the show for the first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're on Audio Boom, we're across a range of different audio platforms. We're, of course, on Twitter, at Last Word on Spurs. We're on Facebook and Instagram too. And we are bringing you our second show of the week. And the reason you're seeing such happy faces is because Spurs haven't played on a midweek, which means for Leon's case, Spurs haven't got knocked out of a cup competition. And we've got a debutant tonight, which is also lovely on the Last Word on Spurs. And we're looking ahead, of course, to Aston Villa to come. Big game for Spurs on Saturday evening. And also just kind of reviewing the previous couple of weeks for Spurs, the positivity around the football club, and also analysing our top four target ahead. As Antonio Conte says, that is the target. And I'm pleased I've got some wonderful guests joining me on the Last Word on Spurs. First up, he needs no introduction. The wonderful Antony Costa from Bluey's back with us here. And how are you? Lovely to have you back.
I'm good, Rick. I'm good. Lovely to be back on with you, mate. Lovely. And I think we're quite twinish today, aren't we?
We are, yeah.
We're twins.
I would say it wasn't deliberate. It wasn't. Although we do speak every day.
Deliberate.
We don't like to say dress each other. Thank God. And this is the happiest I've seen you in such a long time. We're not going to put the mockers on it, but
don't put the mockers on it
right now. Lots of people about right now.
I was there on Sunday. The first half we weren't great. Managed to scrape a goal just before half time, and then the floodgates opened for us. It was fantastic. Newcastle let us play, and we played them off the park, and the result showed. The result, it could have been more. And I think we needed that. We needed that as a club. We needed it as a fan base. And I've never seen so many happy Spurs fans in one place, just joyous. And it's so lovely to see. And long may it continue. And just think to myself, there's 8 cup finals to go still, as Mr. Conte keeps saying. So Spurs and cup finals don't really do well. So let's say it's like this, the quarterfinals, 8 quarterfinals.
When we joked and said 5th round, the FA Cup off air. Just
fifth round.
We've got 8 5th round ties to go. What can go wrong in the life?
What can go wrong?
Yeah. Last time I was speaking to this man, unfortunately, he was here for the Burnley review, in which at one point during that show, he wasn't even too sure if we had a manager, such as the nature of Spurs' season. I've said that twice so far. I won't be saying that for a third time this season. Hopefully not. We've got the brilliant Leon Emirali back on the Last Word on Spurs. Leon, lovely to have you in the house. How are you?
Cheers, Ricky. I'm very well, thank you. It's good. Yeah, I was saying it's good to be on when there's some positivity to chat about, and we know that we've got a manager in place for the next game, which is a great delight. But no, I thought I'm with Anthony. I was there on Sunday. I thought we played fantastically. I thought that the atmosphere in the stadium was good. I thought that the players looked like they were really up for it, and it's in our hands. It's in our hands now, which I think is all we can ask for.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's nice to have you on when you obviously aren't reviewing a defeat, which I think now we've finally broken that duck, right? We've finally broken that duck purely on the basis that we've got no midweek games left and Spurs are out of all cups.
So happy with that. So happy that we've broken that omen. It means I can come back on a bit more regularly, maybe, Ricky, without the fear of us bottling the season. But no,
it almost feels like that Bale curse came to them where Redknapp just threw on for the final 10 just to kind of stop that, from carrying on. Anyway, lovely to have Leon back with us. Finally, we're also delighted to hand out a debut on the Last Word on Spurs. It's nice to bring debutants on where there's such a positive mood around the club, and it's lovely to have Joanna Barlow making her debut tonight. Joe, lovely to have you here. I'm going to try and unmute you, but you might have to do it for me. How are you? Lovely to have you on the show.
Good. Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a really good time to be on, like you said. I wasn't there at the Newcastle game, but it's good to hear that the atmosphere in the ground is kind of like it is, like I think it is. Like everyone's happy at the moment. It's a really positive buzz around it. We've lost that win-lose streak that we were on, and we're finally win-win-win. So, yeah, very excited at the moment. Conte ball's very exciting. Good time to be a Spurs fan.
The actual happiness at the moment is great to see in the room. Let's reflect on the last few weeks because... And Ant, coming over to you, listen, I know, and your mantra has always been the same on Last Word on Spurs, that, we mustn't get too carried away, play the games, focus on the team ahead. But are you surprised by how much Spurs have clicked over the course of the last month under Conte? Because many do say March is the crucial month in which,
it's always
really get your season together. How impressed have you been?
Very impressive. As Joe said, it's nice to break that duck of win-lose. The thing that's exciting me the most, Rick, is, as you said, the team is clicking. Kulusevski and Bentancur has just upped everyone around them. Everyone, and I know Cracker says it a lot, the minute Conte come into the club, everyone had to up their game to Conte. And now Kulusevski and Bentancur, everyone's up their game to these two players because, you know, we can all F and Jeff and go, we need to spend 100 million on this player, 80 million on that one, 70 million on that one. But sometimes it never works out. Look at Gio and Tanguy. It never worked out, you know, and that's why they're back out on loan. Kulusevski and Bentancur, I don't know what the combined price is or will be, but they're the players that we've been lacking. They're the players that we've been missing. They're the ones that have made everyone tick. Kulusevski with his assists and, you know, getting involved, and I like him because he pushes forward. Bentancur, he reminds me of, he's got that touch of, you know, that first touch of Berbatov, and he looks up and he changes his position. He'll drop a shoulder, he'll knock the ball over. His passing range is fantastic, and I, for one, am very, very excited what the pre-season holds. As we always say on this show, you've got to back the man, but back him with the right players that he wants. Not, as I said, go and spend £100 million on certain player, and he comes and he's not great. And then we're sitting here on Last Word on Spurs going, well, he was useless. Do you know what I mean? Get players that can complement the players around them now in this team to make this team even better than what it has been the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks. And I, for one, as I said, I'm very excited.
Yeah, if you're getting excited, then that is very, very exciting because we know, again, you do always try and keep your feet firmly on the ground.
You have to, Rick.
You do, most certainly. Joe, come over to you. I mean, you mentioned off air just how exciting it is at the moment to be a Spurs fan. Have you been surprised, in the last month or so, how Spurs have seemed to have come into their own? As you mentioned in your intro, they've broken that win-loss cycle now. It's 5 wins out of the last 7. Are you feeling optimistic now for what the rest of the season holds under Conte?
Cautiously optimistic. I think when you've been a Spurs fan for long enough, you know you can't be that optimistic for too long. Something's always around the corner. Earlier on in the season, when we beat City, for example, you think, okay, brilliant, this is a game, it's turned the corner now, that's going to give us so much confidence. And then we got knocked out of the cup to Borough not long after. So I'm cautiously optimistic. I think of all the 4 runners for 4th spot, I think on paper we've got the best run in. If you'd asked me a month ago, I would have said, doesn't matter who we're playing, I'm not that confident that who we'd beat. But now I could say, I don't care who we've got on paper. I think we could beat anyone. So that's how quickly the confidence can change. But right now, I think we're in a good place. I think we're in a really good place.
Yeah, most certainly. Obviously, we know that Arsenal game now does finally have a date, Thursday, the 12th of May. We're going to come on to that in a little while. I can see already, Anne, the heart is trembling. It's going to be a massive game, that. And it feels, obviously, if both teams continue their form they've been on, hopefully in Arsenal's case, it will be the same as what it showed on Monday night, then we're in for a really, really exciting game. One that I know the nerves are going to be shredded by the time that comes around. Leon, coming over to you. Listen, I think since we last had you on, we've seen Spurs really pull themselves together. And Conte has seemed to now get this group mentally, I would say, in a right word, charged for what we've seen in terms of their form throughout March. It's been very strong, dominant. We've seen, obviously, a good start to April as well so far. Where do you stand at the moment, Leon, in terms of Spurs and going into the rest of the season? Are you really confident now Spurs can try and finish in that top 4?
Well, really confident is not a phrase that us Spurs fans have, I think, as the guys have alluded to. But, I do think that we've got a really positive chance of getting top 4. And I think that not only am I optimistic for the end of this season, but I'm optimistic for what happens next season. If, Conte gets a full pre-season with them, if he is backed in the summer, and we bring in some of those players that Ant's talking about that can improve the team immediately, if Kane stays, dare I say it, then I think we've got a really good opportunity, and I think things are clicking now. And it just makes me a little bit angry that Conte wasn't appointed first time round, in the summer. And where would we be if that was the case? But hey, that's what happens at this football club. So let's see. But yeah, definitely optimistic. I think we've got a good run. I think it's in our hands. I think if we keep that mentality strong and resilient, then I think we've got a really, really good chance of making top 4. And let's face it, we all want Champions League football back at that new stadium, and it's what it deserves. And I think that we've got a good chance of making it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. And come back round to you. I mean, listen, Spurs did enjoy a very good weekend in terms of, finally moving into that top four with a real convincing win, as we saw against Newcastle United. And that was obviously then followed up by Arsenal, really failing to turn up against Crystal Palace. Obviously, we've seen an incredible, I think, 7-goal swing in terms of that goal difference between the two clubs respectively. Going into now what we call the run-in, the business end of the season, how crucial is now, that defeat for Arsenal? Do you see, from their perspective, them bouncing back? Or, we've seen Tierney now going to be out for the remainder of the season. Spurs obviously had this back a skip that we'll come on to. What do you make of the form of Arsenal, who do appear to be our direct opponents?
Do you know what, Rick? I think they became scared on Monday. I think they saw our result on Sunday against Newcastle. And funnily enough, my brothers, who I went with, my brother sitting next to me, he goes, and watch Arsenal lose tomorrow. I went, don't be stupid. They're playing Palace. They'll turn up because we've beaten them. We've beaten Newcastle 5-1. They don't want to go out. He goes, psychologically, that will hit them hard because they're obviously seen that goal difference. And that goal difference, come the end of the season, could be a blessing in disguise for us. We keep scoring, we keep winning. Could be an extra point, so to speak. And nothing would please me more than even to get the same points as them lot, but beat them to fourth on goal difference. That'd be amazing, even better. So, but psychologically, that did Arsenal, which was lovely to see. It got them thinking. It sort of shook them up a little bit, and that was, again, as I keep saying, that was lovely to see. So we just got to keep playing what's in front of us. Keep getting the results, grinding out the results. But there's going to be a few games where we don't play as well. But if we can nick a win like we did, the Watford game, New Year's Day weren't great, but we nicked 3 points. That's what it's all about. I say this all the time. This is the business end of the season, and it's all about the results now. No matter how we play, I just want them 3 points on the ball, boys and girls, and that's all I want.
Yeah, I mean, Joanne picks up on there the fact, that Arsenal, they may have, had some reservations going into that game because of how Spurs showed their class against Newcastle. Where do you stand it for you, Joe? I mean, a comment on the screen there from Robin says they have a young team and a manager who haven't been in this situation before. Do you think that a lot of that plays into it as well?
Yeah, I think Monday night's game will be a turning point for them. I think it's either going to go one of two ways. They're going to have lost their confidence, their heads are going to have dropped, and they'll tail off, hopefully, towards the end of the season. Or it could go the other way. It could be a real kick up the backside for them, and they could, go with renewed strength towards the end of the season. I think it'll be the first one. I think that it's, they've seen how confident we are, how well our team is gelling together, how well we're playing, how many goals we're scoring. And I think, like Ant said, I reckon they're probably going to be a bit scared of that. So hopefully that's the way it's going to go. But we can't affect what they do. We can only affect what we do. So we have to just focus on us and what we can do.
No, I totally agree. I think that's always been the thing with Spurs.
Yeah, and the thing is, Rick, me and you talk every day, mate. Unfortunately, we've come to that part of the season. I think Joe alluded to it just now. We're always relying on other teams to do us a favour. We need to concentrate on ourselves. I do it, and I shouldn't do it. Like, if they score 2, we've got to score 3, and if we, concede 1, they've got to concede 2, and you're waiting for that result, and it just does my head, and that's what happens to Spurs, us Spurs fans, year on, year on. So this year, play what's in front of you, get those results, and nick those wins.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's absolutely fine. Leon, coming over to you. Again, a lot has been made about, Arsenal in the last, few days. Obviously, they've had the injury to Tierney. Partey, again, he could be sidelined for potentially a while. Is it too early to look with 8 to 9 games to go about what they can do? Do you agree that really the sole focus should be on us? We can control our destiny now. We know that if Spurs do win all of their games and they obviously keep up the level of goals they're scoring, Spurs should make that top 4. I know, again, it's a big should. But what do you make of the form of the opposing team down the road?
I'm not going to talk about it, Ricky. I'm not going to talk about it. Not interested. I think I was very pleased that it was Patrick Vieira who was managing the team that beat them to take us level with them. But no, I mean, on a serious note, I think that they are probably going to have a difficult run in. I mean, there's games in there that you can't see them winning. And if we can get a result on the rescheduled fixture, or even have it tied up by then, not tied up fully, but be a couple of points ahead, that would be ideal, so that we don't even have to worry about that fixture. So I think that's what all Spurs fans want. But no, I mean, I think exactly echo what Ant's saying. Arsenal are Arsenal. They can do what they want, but I think that we've got a more experienced manager. I think that we've got actually a better squad on paper. I mean, Arsenal haven't got a striker who can score goals, which I think is gonna be a real difficulty for them. And I think that it's in our hands, and we can push it and get that full spot. But Arsenal are always going to be in this position, I think, where they are worried by what we do when we come breathing down their necks, as we are. It's the nature of football, it's the nature of the rivalry, right? And I think that they're going to be worried that we've been able to catch them up in the way that we have, and that we're reaching form just as they seem to be dipping. So it seems to be that the stars are aligning. Fingers crossed that continues.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to analyse Spurs' remaining fixtures to come, but interestingly, coming back round to you, you look at Spurs. It's 5 wins out of 6 now in the Premier League. We talked about that consistency, and as obviously Joe picked up on the fact of trying to break that win-loss cycle. What also was really intriguing for me is that Spurs now have created the most chances from opening play. And I know you hate these stats, but the most chances from opening play crossing the Premier League, 1 point under Conte. And then you compare that to Nuno, the shift from 0.7. We weren't even having shots on target under Nuno. Now Spurs are scoring for fun. I mean, it just shows you, doesn't it? Sometimes when you have a different manager in charge, their methodology, the way in which they train these players, you can see there's undoubtable improvements over so many of this squad at the moment.
Mate, I mean, the improvement on some of them players that I thought were going to be sold last summer, and he's put the belief in them. And I'm not saying that they're well beaters, but what I'm trying to say is that all you need is 2 or 3 good players in the team. For example, I'm just going to take Spurs, for example. 2 or 3 fantastic players. Your Kanes, your Sons, maybe Bentancur, maybe Kulusevski. All right, and maybe Dyer could throw him. But I think Dyer has been the most improved player this season.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yes, I know Kane's got all the plaudits, and rightly so. But if you're talking about someone that's come from zero to hero, Dyer is your man. I'm telling you. And he's become, and Conte's obviously put that belief in him. Ben Davies, I thought he would have been one of the first to be sold last season. Again, improved so much. And listen, I put my hands up. You got to applaud him for doing that. And this is what I'm trying to say when I first started talking this evening was, you don't have to have 11 superstars. You can have 8 good players with 3 or 4 superstars in your team. And that's what makes it click. And that's what I want Spurs to be. Not 11 world class, because it will never ever work out.
No, we're seeing at United that struggle, though, aren't we, Ant? When you've got so many of those, well, I say elite players, but so many of those players that believe they should be at such a high level, how hard it is then to kind of galvanise the dressing room to get consistent results.
But this is what Conte does. You see what I'm saying?
And you're seeing his work. You're seeing the work he's doing.
The proof's in the pudding. As you said, 5 wins out of 6. But the thing is, we're scoring goals. We're not nicking a 1-0 win against, I thought when we went 1-0 down at Newcastle, I wasn't worried. I wasn't actually worried. It was first time this season I thought, we've got this. We're going to come back to this because we've got another 45 in us. 100%. They will have to come at us and we will nick it on the break. And we did, But Eric Dyer has been a phenomenon this season.
I agree with you. I mean, you know me. I said to you,
you've always said, Rick,
I had massive reservations whether he could basically take those rickets, pardon the pun, out of his game, because we've seen on so many occasions that under different managers, whatever they've tried, they've not been able to eradicate them. But Conte, so far, I think having Romero next to him seems to give him a world of confidence as well, right?
Romero's your Rolls Royce, isn't it? I mean, it's just an unreal player. And you get another left-sided centre-back, in the summer transfer window. And, as you said, Ben Davies, give him, he's a good squad player. He's a good squad player. But for me, Bastoni would be unbelievable. I mean, what a player. Played under Conte as well. So go and get players that know his system and get the players that Conte wants, not who we think he should get. And if we don't get them type of players that aren't superstars, we shouldn't be getting upset, because if Conte wants John Smith, go and get him. Do you know what I mean?
Back in the manager of who he wants, right?
Back in the manager.
Yeah. Joe, coming around to you. Listen, one of those players that I know is massively impressed so far has been Kulusevski. And I just felt this was a crazy stat. And again, Ant's got to forgive me because I am throwing stats out tonight like they're going out of fashion. But, in the 10 games, Kulusevski scored more Premier League goals than Lo Celso and has made as many assists as Ndombele in managing 2.5 seasons. I mean, can you quite believe, Joe, the impact Kulusevski's had, a player that has, come over to this league first time, of course, and the way he's hit the ground running. Bear in mind, it's only a January signing.
Yeah.
So impressive, right? Alongside Bentancur.
Yeah. So I was thinking to myself this week, actually, that I can't believe it's a January signing. I thought, surely I must be wrong and it must have been a summer signing. The fact that how quickly they've come in, those stats are ridiculous. And what I like about him as well is his passion. And he seems to play for the badge already. And I think that's what's been missing with some of the people that we've been mentioned, like Lo Celso and Tanguy. They didn't seem to care about the club or the badge, or they didn't play with that passion. And I think if you've got players that can play with that heart, then you can forgive them other things, and it kind of makes up for that. But he's got it all, isn't he? He's been absolutely amazing, and that front three that we've got now. I know there's been chat on here about Sonny, whether he's world class, and I think he is, and I think we've got a world class front three now, and I think this is partly why it's so exciting. And all the goals that we're scoring, and the squad just seems so together, and it reminds me of the Poch era back, when everyone was happy and loved playing for the team, and I feel like we've got that at the moment. So yes, good vibes.
Most certainly. Holly comments, and Holly, thanks so much for your kind words. We are just relying on Kane and Son anymore. COYS. She also goes on to say, also wanted to show my love also wanted to say I love the show, enjoy some of the pennies, appreciate that, up the Spurs. And she was going to say to Ant, was going to write winks in the super chat, but didn't want to wind Costa up. So we're not going to do that tonight. There's plenty of positives to come on to. But Leon, let's come around to you. I mean, listen, as far as we know from Kulusevski, it appears, according to friend of the show, Fabrizio Romano, that Spurs already see Kulusevski as a future Spurs player. It's a matter of when they'll pay the option clauses, but they're confident they'll get it done. There's also been reports on the Mail this week that Spurs will trigger that clause as early as the summer, in terms of early summer, to pay that 25 million for Kulusevski. How impressive, Leon, have you been by DJ Kulusevski? Because for me personally, to come over here and to tear it up the way he's done in such a short amount of time, it's been nothing short of remarkable, is it?
Oh, he's been an absolute revelation, and I think would be absolutely mad not to trigger the permanent transfer of him, because he's been brilliant. I think he's been exactly what we've been missing, that kind of directness, that ability to run, that sorry, I've got a bit of a frog in my throat, that magic in his left foot, the fact that he's productive, he's assisting goals, he's scoring goals already. I mean, how many times do you see attacking players come to the Premier League? They can't quite adapt to the physicality. They can't quite adapt to the pace. He's just, taken it as if he's been playing there all his life. So, I think he's fantastic. And I know there was a portion of Spurs fans that were questioning him when he first arrived, saying, "Oh, he looks a bit slow, doesn't he?" Or, he doesn't look quite up to it. I mean, look, he took a game, not even a game. It was probably about the last sort of 20 minutes of the Southampton or Wolves game, was it, where that was it, and then he from there on he's been flying. So I've been really impressed with him, and I've also been really impressed by the Irish Cafu, Matt Doherty, who I think has just been playing brilliantly over the past few games. I think he's been superb, and I think linking up with Kulusevski down that side has been really fruitful when he's been playing on the right, and he can do it on the left as well, as we saw at the weekend. So I think we've got things clicking. I think the wing backs are working. I think the new additions are working, and we've got a couple of really stonking players in there that makes me very pleased to be a Spurs fan right now.
Absolutely. I mean, and coming over to you, you look at that Spurs front three and how it's transformed our season since January. We've produced 27 combined goal contributions in the last 8 games. Kane, 8 goals, 4 assists. You got Son, 5 goals, 3 assists. Kulusevski, 2 goals, 5 assists. It just feels now that with that front three, Kulusevski, the way he's come in and taken that reliance of Kane and Son for the goals, that everybody in that front three now feels confident in each other's ability, and also they can all play together. I mean, to have that front three scoring the way they're scoring, we've currently got that inform nature where you've got to be confident for the rest of the season that if we can continue on this level of goals, we've got it in us to have a really positive finish to the season.
100%, Rick. And this is what I mean. We stay injury free, touch wood. and it's in our hands. You know, it's ours to lose. Do you know what I mean? And I think Kulusevski, as I said when we started talking tonight, he's come in, he's adapted, because the Premier League's the hardest league in the world, and he's confident. He's not afraid. He's taking a man on. He's whipping a ball in. He's creating. He's doing his. Okay, not every shot comes off, but he's trying. That's all you want to see from a player. You want him. You know, he gets me off my seat. I'll be honest with you. He does get me off my seat, and that's what I've wanted for so many years. You know, even Aaron Lennon used to get me off my seat. All right, but Kulusevski, he's got something. He's not the quickest, as we we keep saying, but you don't have to have pace as long as you've got it in your brain, mate. Look at Bentancur. Bentancur for me is my man. I love him, because I like that type of player where he's got control. He's so composed. He's got control of the ball. He's not the quickest, but he'll switch play. You know, he'll see a pass 3 hours before we do. Do you know what I mean? And like the other day, I was like, wow. Do you know what I mean? And the West Ham, when he sort of took it round two players with just one flick.
Unbelievable.
It's unbelievable. The confidence. That's what you want. We don't want people that are scared to take players on or to change a game. And unfortunately, some players that are still there, they need to go. They need to go, mate.
Again, I mean, that's just. I mean, you just think again in this. It's that job in the summer. I mean, I think we're all aware there's still 4 or 5 players that probably need to be moved on for the sake of their own careers, as opposed to Spurs. You know, I think again you can see now Conte is really settled on a team. You know, there's 11, 12 players now. The good thing about Spurs, and again, and I'm sure you agree on this, that you know now really roughly what our 11 is going to be, and Conte, there's no doubt about it that since Spurs have become consistent, we're getting the results and we become consistent.
Is he good at? Okay, yeah. But when we do get these players that Conte wants, I'm reading Martinez will be, be great, fantastic to play alongside Kane. He's able to change his formation.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? We don't want to become that team that we know the 11, which is great.
Yeah.
But when we want to break a team down, like your Burnleys, like your Evertons and stuff like that, when they're so hard to break down at theirs. I'm not saying Everton, but I'm just putting it out there. But Burnley especially. Yeah. You need to change your system up, and I don't think he's had the players to do that this season. Do you know what I mean? Where he likes his 3-4-3. I wouldn't mind seeing a 3-5-2 thrown in, every now and again. He did that against Liverpool earlier this season.
I think we saw 4-4-2 at the weekend. The way he's adaptable. What I love is Spurs actually changing formation in game, which is great to see. And the players obviously know this. I agree. What's interesting? Conte says at the moment that the Tottenham players are showing me great ability, great desire to improve, a great will to try and go to another level. And I want to come onto the point that Leon made there to you, Joe. He mentioned the Irish Cafu, Matt Doherty. Listen, I think it's all fair to say that, Doherty, to be fair to him, I think we all were probably in that camp there. We just thought it maybe wasn't going to work out for him. But credit to him because he has knuckled down really hard. And, the last few weeks, we've seen him contribute to the team. 2 goals, 4 assists in his last 6 games. Again, a player that Anne says, massively improved under Conte. Just how much credit does Conte deserve for improving a player that was so out of sorts in a Spurs shirt? And really, we couldn't see a way back for him.
Yeah, definitely. I'm really happy for Doherty. I think it's been brilliant for him. Like, his attitude throughout has been great, even when he wasn't playing so well. And those stats about the past 6 games, how many goals and assists he's got, is amazing. And I think, Conte gets a lot of that credit. And also, I think it was Tan's last episode of the pod was referring to, like, when these new players come in, they lift everybody and they make everyone around them better. So I think it's not just Conte who's improved him. I think it's probably everyone else that has come in. And I'm glad that you mentioned Eric Dyer earlier as well, because I've been calling this the Eric Dyer redemption season, and I think it's been a long time coming. And I hope Gareth Southgate clocks onto it soon as well. And
I don't, Joe. I don't want him to get injured.
Well, they can have him after the season's finished. They can have him for the World Cup, but maybe not now. But I've been really glad for Eric Dyer that he's finally got what Conte trusts him. He starts him every game. He's kept his head down and worked hard for so long that I'm really pleased for him. And I just think everyone's raising their game. And of course, you want to impress Conte, don't you, when you're playing under him?
Yeah.
And you want to play for your place. Now we're getting more depth to the squad. People have to lift their game because otherwise they might not get to start. So I think the whole system is just lending itself to everyone being better.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I agree without in a perverse way. I was quite glad that I wasn't called up for that squad because he's in a real good rhythm at the moment, and I think the last thing we need is any distractions for him because he is playing so well. I would rather him just go under the radar, and again, in the summer, if he's called up for the World Cup, got absolutely no problem with that because again, end of season can't do any damage to us, and I think again that might really lift him, ahead of next season because you do feel with Dyer now that he's almost. Now, I would say cemented that spot next to Romero, and you'd probably argue that Spurs do need to go and get themselves a left-sided centre-back. You'd probably say next season. I think Davis has shown himself to be, I think, maybe a capable squad player, but I still think Spurs will look to improve that area come January, come obviously the summer. I don't know if did you want to come back in around?
Yeah, I just want to put a question out to the panel. Chris Pilgrim on the comments here says. We hope we keep Stevie B. He's earned it, but maybe obviously be at Ajax because obviously the World Cup's coming in November. Now, Stevie Bergwijn's a weird one for me because I know what you can see what he's about.
Yeah.
But has he got 90 minutes in him? I don't think I've seen him play 90 minutes for Spurs. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the stats people can prove me wrong. But Leon, what are you saying, mate? Do you think he should go for his own sake for the World Cup, or would you rather keep him and have him as a squad player?
Well, I think he's going to go to the World Cup anyway because he can't stop scoring for Holland, can he? So exactly. I think he's going to go. I think he's going to go anyway, and I think he's a really good squad player. He's exactly the kind of player that we need to come off the bench and make an impact. And there's a bit of a debate to be had about Mora or Bergwijn, isn't there? Because is there room for two of them, or do you only need one of them given the quality we've now got up top? So. I'd throw that question back to the panel as to if you were going to get rid of one, would it be Bergwijn or would it be Mora? For me, I think I'd probably rather keep Bergwijn right now.
Yeah,
absolutely. I would play. I think he can offer goals. I love Lucas Moura. I think all Spurs fans do because of that famous night against Ajax and all the rest of it. And he can't knock his work ethic. But I think that Bergwijn's got a bit more quality and a bit more versatility. I was reading that he plays in a more sort of centre forward role for Holland on international duty. So we need that backup to Kane if he gets injured. God forbid, but we need someone who can play that role capably. And if Bergwijn can step into that, brilliant. I also think he could probably play at wing back if it was needed. If we got down to bare bones. So yeah, I think he's exactly the kind of squad player that we need. And I rate him. I think I was really pleased to see that he scored at the weekend.
Oh, yeah. So I'm going to reflect on what the comments are saying, and I really agree with this. I think where we're at now is I think Mora is quite happy to accept being a squad player, and Bergwijn isn't. And I think that tells you everything about the player and what they want to become and achieve. When I look at Bergwijn, for me, the guy has got goals in his game. I think the only issue we're going to have with him is, for me, as Conte says, he really likes him. And I think if anyone saw the Conte cam, they obviously put out Tottenham on their official channel a couple of days ago. Conte knew Bergwijn was going to score. He was already pointing towards his coaching staff and gesturing towards them because he knew Bergwijn was going to score. And I think you need players like Bergwijn in your squad if you want to be a squad that's competing on all four fronts. You have to be. And the thing is, again, we can't rely just on Kane, Kulusevski, Son next season. You're going to have more options than that.
You need options.
And that's why I would say, for me, you've got to keep Bergwijn, and I would probably sell Mora because I feel Mora, I don't think is going to improve any more drastically than what he's done at Spurs. But I feel with Bergwijn, there's still another level that we haven't quite seen yet. And he's only been working under Conte for the last 3 or 4 months. And I think already you can see when he's been on the pitch, he's consistently improved. Look at the goals he scored, West Ham, obviously Leicester, and again the weekend. There's goals in Bergwijn for me. But it's the problem we're going to have is whether Bergwijn is going to push for that move. Because if he pushes for that move, I think Spurs are in a very difficult position. If he wants to be part of something special that are looking to build a project here to try and compete for, arguably next season, if we can try and contest for a league. I know that might sound ambitious, but if we get the players in Conte wants and we keep Kane, we keep Son, we build around Romero, we build around Dyer, we look to improve at fullback, then I think there's no doubt Bergwijn's got to stay. But I think the key will be, I don't know if you agree, Joe, whether it's more of a case, it's on Bergwijn here, how happy he is to remain, to be part of a squad where he knows he's not going to be guaranteed to be first choice in that front three.
Yeah, that's 100% my thoughts. I agree that Lucas Moura seems really happy as a squad player, happy to play that role. I don't think Bergwijn is. I think from a couple of social media posts I might have seen, he wants to be valued as a player. And I don't think he's going to feel that way currently. I think for Spurs, it'd be great to keep him. A really good super sub at the moment, if nothing else. But only if his mentality is good, only if he's happy to play in that way and be that part of the squad. Otherwise, you've got the risk that his head will drop and his attitude will go, and then he won't come on and score those goals. So if Conte can keep him happy in that role, yes, absolutely. But I think there's always a risk that he's just not going to want it. And then if you've got rid of Mora, then what have you got? So
yeah,
I think it's tricky.
It's an interesting one though, isn't it? Because we'd like to say we want to compete on all fronts next season, and we do need a squad. We do need a second 11, so to speak.
The thing is, if we were going to sell Bergwijn, he'd be the kind of player we'd be looking to buy, wouldn't he? Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's what I'm saying.
If you think about Spurs generally, if we're going to sell a player like that, but we're still going to need someone that's going to be able to come in and be able to play across the line. And Bergwijn can arguably do that, and he's got goals. It just doesn't seem right to sell him. But the problem, do you think Ant will push for that move in the summer?
I think my gut's saying he will, because he wants to. I know, as Leon said, and rightly so, he is going to obviously be in the Dutch squad for the World Cup. But at Spurs, he won't be playing 38 games consistently, right? So he's going to look at that and think, well, I'm part of Conte's plans because he likes me, but I might get 5 or 6, maybe 10 at a push Premier League games. Maybe not starting, maybe to come on. So you think about it, comes on a 70 minutes, 80 minutes. So it's like, you put it all together, he's only played a handful of games and it's only like adds up to an hour. Do you know what I'm saying? Over a season. But if he wants to go to be part of the squad, give him the League Cup runs. Give him the FA Cup runs. Don't just rely on Kane and Son, because you know as well as I do, Kane might have an injury. Son might have an injury. They're players. They're football players. They're not robots. So they're professional athletes. They will get an injury. So we need that squad. And I wouldn't look to sell Bergwijn. I like him. There's something about him that I really, really like. I don't know what it is. Yeah. I've got a soft spot for him.
No, again, a lot of people they can't put their thing on it, but there's something about him that you don't want to see him go. I would be really gutted if he does go. I mean, Leon, you said earlier, that out of the two, you would probably sell Lucas. Do you think it's now a case of just seeing if Bergwijn's going to really push for that move, Leon? Is this the key here? Is that where it comes down to, really, whether he's going to be happy to accept being part of a squad? But again, I know we don't want to put the mockers on it. If Spurs are playing Champions League football next season, they're going to need depth in that squad to be able to then rotate between Tuesday, Wednesday to then Saturday or Sunday. And then again, League Cup, FA Cup. If we're looking to be a side that want to challenge consistently for trophies, that's a player you have to keep, surely.
Yeah, I fundamentally agree with that. And I think that it will come down to him pushing the move rather than it coming from the club, because I think he could have gone in January by the sounds of things. He was very close to moving to Ajax, and Conte said, no, I want to keep him in the squad, and rightly so. So, I think that if it does come down to it, then, he's going to want to move. And I think Conte's got to sell him the vision that if we're fighting on 4 fronts, and, look, we've got to be competing for a trophy seriously next season, haven't we, really? Maybe the league's too much of a stretch, but a domestic cup or a good run in Europe would be what we're after. So you need players like Bergwijn, quality players to come off the bench. And I think and Joe both said, we've been lacking depth over the past few seasons, really. And the fact that we can bring on Bergwijn, someone of his quality, off the bench, and for him to score a goal and add to the scoreline like he did on Sunday, then I think we need exactly that type of player in our squad. And I'm with Ant. I really like him. I think he's got a lot of quality. I think if he does go to the World Cup, which he will, and has a good World Cup, then that's going to be even better for him coming back and saying to Conte, well, actually, why don't you start me? Why don't you start me? And there's no reason why Kulusevski or Son can be dropped, and they can be the impact sub coming off the bench. We want that type of competition for places. No one should be undroppable, and to get that kind of mentality, you need quality in your squad, and Bergwijn gives us that. So I'd be upset if he left, and I think that a lot of the fans would be, but he might think otherwise. Hopefully he doesn't. Hopefully Conte can sell him the vision that he's got a big role to play.
Yeah, I think again it's just one of those where we're going to have to keep an eye on it. And again, between now and the end of the season, you feel I think he should be disappointed if he's not the first sub on the field when we're looking to make that change to the front line. You know, if you're again, he'd be very disappointed if it's going to be Lucas ahead of him when it comes to when Spurs are looking to make changes. So I think it's very clear what we've found a settled 11 now. You'd be disappointed if you were him and you weren't the first name off the bench. And I know he wants more than that, but again, we'll have to wait and see. Just very quickly, some news we heard today that Heung-min Son had completed all 544 hours of his voluntary work as of last month. That means he's finished all of his military requirements, which for Spurs, that's quite a big deal. Again, it means for Son now that hopefully, fingers crossed, it means that he won't be missing any time for Tottenham. Again, he has his commitments with South Korea, as we know. But obviously, that's really good news. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, a player that has really improved, I would say, over the last few weeks. No doubt about it, since Bentancur has been next to him. He's firmly emphasised just how special of a coach Antony Costa is. He says that dreaded line that we've all been saying, we've got 8 games left, all finals. The other clubs would say the same, all finals. So it's not about who says it, it's about who does it best. That's where we are right now. And he actually made a point, Conte, at the weekend of singling out Højbjerg for real praise. And let's come over to you, because I know we both probably felt the same about Højbjerg, where we wasn't quite sure how big a future he had to have or remain at Spurs. But is it fair to say, since Bentancur's come in, started in next to him, looks like it's the same player we signed, or the previous player we signed at the very start of his career at Tottenham?
I think Højbjerg is the player that we've been expecting. It's taken a good year or so because he hasn't had the right player next to him. All right, he's had Skip, for a few games, before Skip's injury, I'm sure, as you said in the beginning of the show, we're going to come on to that. But he's got Bentancur. Højbjerg doesn't have to do much. Just break the play up, mate. Yeah, you run around, you do your bit, and you pump your chest out, fantastic. But let Bentancur, knock the ball about. You go and tackle, give it to Bentancur, and he'll show you what to do. And that's fine, because he knows his role. He's not doing 2 jobs. When he's with old matey boy next to him, who I'm not going to name, but when he's got matey boy next to him, and you've got matey boy running around doing what he does, giving the ball away and falling over and letting the other team score, as he's done on a few occasions, they don't complement each other. These two do complement each other. So that's it. Exactly that. So for me, as King Hoddle just said, that's all he needs to do. Break up play, give it to Bentancur, and let him do the stuff, mate. And I don't want to see Winksberg anymore.
Joe, coming around to you. Is it fair to say that we've rediscovered Højbjerg's role now? I mean, I think it's fair to say that you can always tell the quality of a player when you put somebody next to him of either equal or better quality. And since Bentancur's come in now, he just looks so much more able, secure as a player. You can just see he looks more comfortable on the ball.
Yeah, it could have gone the other way, couldn't it? It could have really showed him up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and luckily it's gone this way. I mean, I've liked him from the start. I think he's a real warrior kind of player, and he really does put his heart into every game. So I really liked him from the start. But yeah, I think at the moment, brilliant. And even if Skip can come back in and play alongside him as well, I think that'd be great. We won't talk about the other player that Ant doesn't like. I don't mind him, but yeah, no, I'm really happy. I think he's just another example of the new players coming in and lifting everyone around him. Yeah, very happy.
Leon, for you now, I mean, again, these are the players that, we really want them to start, obviously, driving Spurs in terms of their character. Højbjerg, again, I think it's been questioned just how much of a leader he is. But, when you look at the reaction of when Spurs score, he's one of those players just telling everybody to keep calm. And you do feel Conte relies on him, does rely on him to some degree there as a leader. Do you think we're starting to see that again now re-emerge since he's had a midfield partner next to him of, equal or better quality in Bentancur?
Yes, but I'm going to differ with my esteemed fellow guests here in that I think we need an upgrade on Højbjerg in the summer. Skip might be that player, to be honest, but I think we need an upgrade on Højbjerg. Again, a decent option to have as a backup, but I don't think he's a Champions League level midfielder to be completely frank. I think yes, he offers a bit of grit, a bit of determination, and he's probably very vocal in the dressing room and all the rest of it. And I think that's important. We need those types of characters, but I'm not sure he's got the quality that we need. And now that we've got Bentancur, we can be flexible with who we bring in. Can we bring in someone who can break up play, but also play a little bit as well, which I think is what we need if we really want to be pushing on. So, yeah, he brings leadership, and I think that's been missing. from the squad. But now we've got players like Romero, Bentancur. Leadership isn't quite as much of a lost cause that it used to be. So I think we need more than just leadership and heart and passion. I think we need a bit of quality, and I think we need an upgrade on that. So he's improved, but we need an upgrade.
Yeah, but I think naturally, if we're a club that are going to hopefully, please God, they're going to finish in that top 4 Champions League, then the centre of midfield with Bentancur and even Skip there, I'd still feel it's fairly lightweight. I mean, Ant, I can see you nodding there as well. That's still an area we're going to have to massively improve in the summer, right? If Spurs want to be genuinely trying to compete with the likes of Liverpool, Chelsea, City.
We keep saying this. You need a squad. And I get what Leon is saying, and I think he's spot on in that. Would you trust Højbjerg against, if we get to the Champions League, against Barca, against the Bayern, against the Villarreal, against the Atletico Madrid, against? He has got a mistake in him. Let's have it right. He does give the ball away when he's under pressure. But if we get an upgrade, then that might make him lift this game, because competition brings competition.
I think that's the biggest problem with Tottenham. I've always said, because a lot of these players are devoid of competition, that's why I think you do see elementary mistakes, because they're not being pushed enough. I even down to Lloris, at the weekend. And listen, I love Lloris. Glad he's signed the new contract, but you just wonder. Galini isn't.
No, we need a keeper.
No, I agree, but I also think I do agree. But I think the problem you got is that I don't think Galini's pushing him enough. So Lloris is on his toes. I think he knows, Lloris's place is guaranteed. Whereas you've got a goalkeeper coming in that's going to fight with Lloris, that number one. Every player's on their game, every second of every 100%. Minute, concentration-wise. So I know there's been links to, obviously, Sam Johnston at West Brom. Spurs are reportedly favourites to get that done. So obviously we'll keep an eye as to how that does progress. But what we will do, we will go for our first break of the show. For our listeners on audio, there's nearly 300 plus of you watching us live on a Champions League night and a Premier League night. So thank you so much for all your incredible support as always here. We're delighted to sound the last word on Spurs, and you'll know it by now that we are sponsored by NordVPN. So Nord are an incredibly secure, fast, and incredibly to use VPN. As we say, they're the hurricane of VPN, incredible in all its facets, with device protection such as the steel and warrior shape of Christian Romero and the internet speed of Heung-min Son, not Adama Traore. They've got over 5,200 servers across 59 countries, and they automatically select the best server based on locations, loads, or your specific needs. You have a great opportunity to save on the likes of YouTube Premium. You've got Disney in there. You've got Hulu as well by unblocking those channels. We're going to share a code with you on the screen right now, which allows you to take full advantage of a discount. So at the moment, Nord have launched a brand new feature called Threat Protection, which is an anti-malware software which uses users to be able to give a potential, free, discount for that. You can use the code LWS with a huge discount. So make sure you go and grab that and take advantage of that as well. And second half of the show, guys, we'll be looking ahead to Spurs' running our remaining fixtures to come. But before we do, we'll give a quick mention, because we did talk about Bentancur and Højbjerg there. Oliver Skip, who has had a setback over the course of the last, couple of days, which is obviously really disappointing. He's now resumed indoor training, but it appears that what looked like a very, very close comeback coming over to you, Joe, isn't so close now, which is obviously really disappointing, because, he had a really positive start to the season. Skippy looks like he's about to sign a new contract, but still not available, which is obviously really disappointing.
Yeah, I think we need to play the long game with Skippy, though. I think he's hopefully going to be at the club for a long time. People have said he's a future captain, haven't they? He's still so young, and I just really don't want us to risk him by rushing him back too early. At the moment, we were all right without him. Fingers crossed we don't get any other injuries, but I really wouldn't want to rush him back. So hopefully he can just get the rehab he needs. Maybe he just doesn't play again for the rest of the season. Who knows? But just make sure he's strong enough to come back next season and play really well. So let's just not break him.
Yep, agree. I mean, do you know what? And I was worried with Skip at the start of the season that we're going to overuse him and burn him out. But I mean, it's just been so disappointing that we haven't really been able to get him back on the field, because, listen, I think it's clear the guy's got real good quality, not being disrespectful. I think when you look at what the midfield Spurs have had in the past coming through the ranks, I think he's one that you can really see, especially with Conte under his guidance and leadership, that there's a real good player in there, isn't it? It's just this point we haven't been to see him as often as we can the last few weeks.
Yeah, it's a shame he hasn't been able to play with Bentancur. It'd been interesting to see how that relationship would have developed on the field. But again, as Joe said, you can't burn the boy out too quick. So if he's out for the season, he's out for the season. There's nothing we can do about it. So I'd rather him not come back if he's not fully fit, because that can only do him more damage. Give him the summer to recoup and to come back pre-season and beginning of next season stronger and fitter than ever. And I think, if you rush him back because because we're less players, it's a shame, because it can only do you damage. But I like him. I like Oliver Skipp. I really do. Is it a future? Maybe. I think we still need, as Leon alluded to, we do need other players in that position as well. So, but I like him. I like his passion. I like what I see on the pitch, and he doesn't scare me. He doesn't make me, jittery when I'm watching. So he's very calm on the ball. I like him.
Yeah, Leon. The only obviously testing thing we've got at the moment is we're quite lucky by the fact that again, not trying to put knockers on it, that Bentancur, Højbjerg to some degree, they've been consistent in the team. In terms of injury wise so far. I know every Spurs fan telling me to shut up now and don't even get started on this subject. But the only concern we're going to have is if Spurs are going to need to explore other options in that midfield. I think our lack of trust when it comes to who else we've got in reserve is a real worry. Going into these last 8-9 games, how damaging will that be if we can't get Skipp back out there? I mean, by all accordance, it does seem a minor setback, but it's still a setback that we could really do without.
Yeah, I mean, even if he does come back before the end of the season, he's not going to be fresh, is he? It's going to take a while to come back. He's been out for a while, so the lack of depth in that centre midfield area is probably the most concerning component of this running now, isn't it? Because you think if we get an injury to Højbjerg or Bentancur, then we'll worry. But yeah, I really like Oliver Skipp. I'm gutted for him, really, because I think the way he started playing at the beginning of the season. He could have been in the England World Cup squad. I think the way he was playing, I think he's an upgrade on Calvin Phillips or whoever else is going to be in that role, contender for that role. So, and I think for him at that age to be in an England World Cup squad can only be a good thing for us in terms of experience and all the rest of it. So, I'm gutted for him on that front. Really good player. I think the fact that we produce someone like him from the academy, is brilliant. We just got to hope that he's managed in the right way and doesn't turn out to be like Harry Winks, dare I say it? Dare I say that name? But I think if we manage him well, manage him properly, then I think he could be a really, really exciting player. But at the end of the day, an injury is an injury, and I think Conte seems quite frustrated at the way it's been managed. I'm sort of reading between the lines. He's kind of not really been giving the medical team the best report back on the way that Skipp injury has been handled. So maybe that's a bit of a concern as well. But let's hope that it's not too serious. He comes back and we've got some depth in the area. And yes, Pape Sarr, he comes back or joins. Let's see what he can do. I doubt Ndombele or Lo Celso will play again in a Spurs shirt, to be honest. But I think that's definitely an area we need to dip into in the transfer market in the summer.
Yeah, again, it'll be interesting to see what does happen over the summer, because again, I mean, we're saying they're not. You don't think they're going to play another, a game in a Spurs shirt. We've still got to find buyers for those players. Again, there's been reports this week that Lo Celso, Villarreal keen on potentially a permanent move for him. Again, that's going to be quite a sizable fee. The same for Tungi and Ndombele as well, who we know is obviously back in action tomorrow. He'll be taking on West Ham. So Ndombele's got a chance to some degree to redeem himself for that game. But what we'll do, guys, is we'll have a quick look at what Spurs have got in terms of the running now. We're going to obviously do a Villa preview shortly. So, I mean, Villa-wise at the moment, we know they're about to win in their last 7, but we'll go into a bit more depth on that when we do that preview. Following the Villa game, we know we've got Brentford away for Spurs. So, we'll be keeping an eye, of course, on the game. There's a midday game at the Emirates where Arsenal are going to travel. They've got Chelsea prior to hosting United as well. So, Brentford, we've seen obviously Eriksen performing really, really well for Brentford. Just that game on paper, guys. Very quick thoughts on that. Ant, to start with you, Brentford-wise, that's a kind of game where Spurs in the past, we know we're going to have to turn up there, aren't we? They're going to be
it's a
London derby there as well.
Yeah, it's one of the first London derbies against them.
Yep.
Is it ours or theirs?
No, at Brentford. Yep.
Oh, it's at Brentford, right?
Yep.
Well, they'll be up for it. You know,
Yep.
the story of the season so far for me is seeing that man Christian Eriksen on the
Absolutely.
pitch. I think it's
Yep.
fantastic. I'd love him back at Spurs in the Spurs shirt next season. And I think it'll be quite emotional. I think it'll be one of them games where the emotions might maybe take over, and I think some of his old mates might be a bit scared to play against him. You just don't know, do you? Because it's like old mates meeting up. But I think we have to go there and we have to beat them. We have to be the better team and get the 3 points.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, and I just wonder, Joe, coming over to you, just how much of a factor that will play for Eriksen, because he's adored by Spurs fans, and a lot of those players would have played with him. It'll be emotional for him as well, playing against his former club. He's had a real good impact there. Brentford, does that worry you on paper, that game, or should Spurs be approaching that still full of confidence? We know obviously it's after Villa, so we can't predict Villa how that will turn out, but it's a game we should expect to win, right?
Yeah, it's one I am worried about a little bit. I'm emotional thinking about it, thinking about Eriksen playing in front of Spurs fans again, albeit away fans. But I hope the emotion doesn't take over the game, but it might. We saw when when they played Norwich, I think, Brentford, when Eriksen was tackled.
And the bloke hugged him.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know if there'll be any of that kind of run. No one's going to want to stick a boot in him or anything. But Brentford obviously beat Chelsea, didn't they? And I think, they will be up for that answer. They're at home. So it is one of the few games that I am a little bit nervous about. So yeah, fingers crossed.
Leon, coming over to you, just the same question really on Brentford. We don't obviously know what their position will look like in the next few weeks, whether they're kind of going to be steering themselves to safety, whether they'll still be in and amongst a relegation battle. Full-time there, Adrian very kindly showing up on the screen, Burnley 3, Everton 2, full-time. Everton just... Again, we haven't got Everton to come. We've got Burnley to come still for Spurs. Tottenham v Burnley. So again, that'll be one that's interesting to keep an eye on, because for Brentford now, that does really increase the pressure over the next few weeks, where they're still going to need results, aren't they, Brentford?
Yeah, they are, and it's definitely the kind of game that worries me. Just looking back at those games against Southampton, those games against Wolves, where it looks like we should be winning them fairly comfortably, but end up losing them. And I think Brentford has that feel to it, but maybe we've turned a corner in terms of mentality, fitness, or whatever it was. So yes, I think they're slightly worrying. And Brentford we saw them against Chelsea. It was just incredible. So they are not an easy team to play against. Yes, it is going to be emotional with the Christian Eriksen factor and all the rest of it. But we've got to focus on doing what we can do. I worry against teams that sit deep against us. That's not going to be a revelation to anyone. We've struggled against those types of teams, and I think it's important, therefore, that we get out on the front foot in those kinds of games and try and score early to force the other opposition teams to come and start playing, because that's what happened against Newcastle. Once they realise they've got to start attacking to get something from it, the floodgates open and we start scoring goals for fun. So if it gets to 70 minutes and it's still 0-0, where it's still a draw, I'll be worried. But if we can score early doors, then I think we can win those types of games. But let's see.
Yeah. It's interesting. After Brentford, for Spurs to come, and just for our live listeners here, Adrian very kindly confirming that Chelsea 1, Real Madrid 3. Are Chelsea starting a really, really poor run, as we saw against Brentford? That obviously beat them.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it?
Wouldn't it be a shame? What a time to go on to a poor form.
Oh, never mind. Never mind. Now they know how we feel. Sodom. But you know what? They got them lot down the road in between. Is it after? Between this game, or is it next week?
Yeah, I know we had a call, and you said, I know we had a call out last week. And you said to me, "Shut up." We talked about third, fourth. Chelsea. No,
you're going silly now.
I'm not going silly. I'm just saying, that still isn't secure for Chelsea yet. I'm not saying Spurs can take third. I'm just saying, who knows what the rest of the season has in store for them. They've got a lot going on there in terms of protesting of current ownership and new ownership.
Yeah, I think they're going to have to turn up against Arsenal, because if they were through tonight, if they beat Real Madrid and they've got, they're comfortable going over to the Bernabeu, and they can afford to rest a few players, then okay, but they've lost tonight. They've got to turn up against that. They need that third spot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Imagine if they Oh, mate.
Well, this is why I said to you, I wasn't referring to Spurs in that bracket of third.
Yeah,
but
I
I'm
know
saying
what you mean, I
Chelsea,
know what you mean.
the form they're in at the moment, the last couple of games, again, it's too early for that. But we'll switch our attention back to the obviously analysts of the run-in. After Brentford Spurs is that dreaded trip to Anfield, Saturday the 7th of May, we know now, a 7:45 kickoff. I mean, listen, Liverpool at the moment, coming over to you, Joe, they're in the midst of a title race for them. Every game feels for them like the same for us, a cup final. City, to be fair, City as well keep on winning at the moment. Many people have just written this game off completely, saying there's no way Spurs will get a result at Anfield. Do you share that, or do you think Spurs have got a chance there?
I think my biggest worry for this game is that it comes before the derby, and that I think whatever happens, we've got to go into that game with everything, emotionally, physically, and that's going to take it out of us, whatever the outcome. And my worry is that if we're relying on the North London derby to get a result from to get fourth, that we might be affected from the Liverpool game still. So obviously it's a difficult place to go, to Anfield. Who knows what's going to happen? We can beat them. I think but it will take everything out of us. And that's what worries me about that game the most.
It's interesting, Joe, you made that point. Can I go to you, Leon? Spurs, 7th of May is Liverpool. Then obviously the Thursday is the Arsenal game. So there's less than a week of a turnaround there. It's whether that Liverpool game is going to, I would say, be exhaustion for our players. You see the energy Liverpool put into games. Spurs have got to try and match that energy on that night. Plus, a crowd that, Liverpool, as we know, they're always up for it midweek. It's a ground that Spurs mentally, we don't ever seem to do well at. Do you think under Conte, does that change when you look at the way Spurs performed against City earlier in the season?
Yeah, I think it definitely changes, and I'm slightly more optimistic about the Liverpool game than I am some of the others. Because I think we do better. Like I was saying, against teams that come out and attack us and have a go and play a high line and all the rest of it. And I think we can do some damage. Not to say that they can't do some damage the other end as well, but it gives you a good game 9 times out of 10, like we saw in the return fixture. So I think that the Liverpool game will be tricky. Obviously, that they're a phenomenal team, and they could they could really throw a spanner in the works for us. But a Winks hat trick would be nice, albeit slightly.
We'll all be going nuts.
If Winks scores a goal against Liverpool, can Ant come on and eat something silly or do it in his underwear or something?
Leon, I'd eat me hat, mate. I'll eat me hat.
Fine. We'll hold him to it. But no, the Liverpool game will be tough. Of course it will. It will be. I worry about fitness in a way because, yes, we've got fitter since Conte came in, but that doesn't happen. You need that to happen over the long term. And the depth, we haven't quite got the depth in every single position that we need to rotate, which would be ideal. But, realistically, if everyone stays fit, we're playing the same 11, aren't we? Maybe Skip comes in if he returns, but realistically, that is the 11 that we're going to be playing week in, week out if we can. So naturally, the players are going to get tired, and the Liverpool game is going to be one of those that particularly takes it out of us. But look, we've got to give it a go. What's the alternative? You've just got to throw everything at it and hope that we come through it unscathed. A point will do. A win will be lovely. Let's try and avoid a loss. I mean, it's basic, but I think that's where we've got to be looking. And fingers crossed that we can keep everyone fit for the games before and after that.
Yeah, I mean, and come over to you just very quick on that Liverpool game. I know. Listen, we've had this chat already about Liverpool ourselves. That it's always a tough ground for us mentally. We always struggle in these kind of fixtures against these kind of teams. But, as Guy says on the screen there, no one believed we'll beat Man City away, and we did. And what I like about Conte is that, he's going to have a plan in place for this. The Liverpool game for Spurs, we do have a week's preparation in between Brentford to Liverpool. So we are going to have the time on the training ground to try and work out some kind of formula to
just go there with no fear, Rick. That's the bottom line, mate.
Yeah.
He can have all the tactics and everything in his head, and rightly so. He's the manager. But for some reason, we can't go there and crumble. The minute we get off that team bus, we got to have winners in our blood. We've got to go there and just turn up. I remember, I think it was a couple of years ago on the Poch, we went 1-0 up, and then we just bottled it as per. And it's just like, what's the point of going 1 up and you haven't got a plan? I think if we go 1-0 up against them in an ideal world, go for the second. So let's go there with no fear And but Leon's right. As Spurs fans, you ain't a Spurs fan if you're not worried about teams like Brentford or Burnley.
Yeah.
So they're the teams that worry me the most.
Obviously after we've discussed there, Liverpool comes that North London derby against Arsenal, finally penciled in, May the 12th on a Thursday night. I think, all the nerves are going to be shredded for this one. It does feel like this game is going to have a pivotal say as to who is going to finish fourth. Obviously, we know we've still got 3 or 4 games in between reaching this point. Joe, let's start with you. Me, and again, I'm happy to say this on camera, the way we're playing right now mentally, I think the players are on that different trajectory now where they're just going into every game laser mind ready now, focused on winning, not thinking about losing. Do you see that game against Arsenal being the pivotal game in that top 4 battle? Do you think it will be decided either before or after that?
Hopefully it'll be decided before. I know we're saying we've got these 8 cup finals, but this is the big, fat, juicy, shiny cup final, isn't it? This is the one that I'm excited about it. I'm actually not nervous about it. I'm excited about it. And I think that's what the players will be feeling. I think they'll be really up for it. It's at our place. It's an evening kickoff. It's good. The stadium's going to be amazing.
Electric, right? Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And I think it's completely in our hands. I'm not nervous about that one at all. I'll happily to say that's not what I'm nervous about.
Yeah. And we must also add, I think this is probably the first one we've got fans in there. Obviously, we had the 2000 in there when it was obviously during the COVID crisis. But, Spurs are going to have that stadium full for the first time against Arsenal in a North London derby where it does feel like a winner takes all game. But, we've got to say that before that Arsenal game, there's still 3-6. There's 9 points still to play for, Leon, between, where we are now to that Arsenal game. So the picture could look very different by the time we play them. Do you buy that, Leon? For you, it is make or break, or is it going to be difficult to say that based on the fact there's still quite a lot of games in between that still to come? 3 games before, a couple of games after. Where do you stand on it?
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot can change in those 3 games. We could be 6 points clear, or we could be 9 points clear, or not. So I think let's just wait and see what happens. I think we've got to get across the games in between that one first, and if we can do that, then we go into the Arsenal game on high confidence, and allows us to really take the game to them and try and get the result against them. Which I'm kind of with Joe. I do think we can beat them. I think they're very beatable, and I think it's on our turf, and we're gonna be up for it if we're still in the fight by then. So it's a game that it's not make or break, because I think there's a lot more games in between and after that mean it isn't quite as critical as it perhaps could be. But 3 points against Arsenal is always satisfying, regardless of whether we're competing for 4th spot together or whether we're opposite ends of the table. It's a game you want to win. It's just a bit of added spice, the fact that we're so close in the table. So bring it on.
Agree. And let's come around here. You've got a question here, very kindly listener question here from Drew Wilton, who says, just how affected will Arsenal be with their injuries? I mean, I think obviously he's referring to Kieran Tierney. We know he's out for the season. Partey, I don't think he's out for the season, but he's obviously a doubt now for their upcoming games. Do you buy too much into that, Ant?
In terms of what, Rick?
In terms of their injuries, they've got Tierney.
Well, they've been lucky all season, haven't they? They've had no major injuries.
And they've also had a week to prepare in between games as well, we must add.
Week prepare. They haven't played 2 games a week, as was what we were doing before sort of like Christmas and stuff. So, yeah, they've been lucky. They've had no bad injuries. They've had, and we've had more and now he's coming out. He was coming out the other week, old matey boy, moaning about that they're going to have to play Saturday, Tuesday, or Saturday and Wednesday. So what, mate? You're pro athletes. Get on with it. You've been lucky. We've had injuries, a few left, right, and centre, as you just said. Skips, he's had a setback. So just get on with it. They got to come to us, right? Make that stadium so intimidating. I think I read one of your comments, and it's spot on. Make it intimidating. Do not let them play football. Absolutely. Get at them from minute 1, right? And just go there and show them that North London is blue and white.
I mean, we have to say it's a young team with a young manager in a position where they're not used to being in. And I think that also plays a factor into it. Like if you look at the season, if you look at the fact, going into this game, Spurs, as you've just said there, Ant, for me, they have to make that ground a fortress at night. And it will be rocking. It will be rocking.
We've got to make that rocking from 6:30 in the evening, mate. The minute them gates open, make it rocking. Make them Arsenal fans come here and go, holy bleep, like, this is ridiculous. Like, wow.
Yeah.
I want them. I want them to be jealous of our stadium. I want them to be. Oh man. I hope we do, and boy, I tell you. And I just hope that certain players don't play and make mistakes, mate. Just do not make mistakes on that game. No silly pass backs to Lloris, and because anyway, don't get me started.
Play the ball forward for our sake.
Just play it forward, Lloris. Just play it forward, son.
Next after Arsenal comes Burnley, and obviously as we've seen tonight, Burnley. That's a massive win for Burnley tonight.
They're hard to play against.
Burnley, now you say tonight 3-2 against Everton. Burnley have given themselves again a fighting chance to stay in this league. Just when you think Sean Dyche is done and Burnley are going to be going again, the miracle is on for Burnley. Again, these are the games, Leon. I can see your face already there before I even ask you the question. These are the games that do worry you as a Spurs fan, because you do feel for Burnley that they're going to need all the points possible to stay in the league, but Spurs are at home. How much do they have to use that home atmosphere that we've seen over the past few weeks for their advantage?
Yeah, I think we need to use it hugely to our advantage. And to be honest, the word Burnley gives me shivers, because it is such a horrible team to play against.
As you knew a couple of weeks ago. Sorry to say.
As I knew a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, thanks for the flashbacks. But it was. They're a tough team to play against, and obviously, yes, we've got an advantage that we're at home. That always helps. I think the atmosphere there is better than it's ever been, to be honest, right now. So I think that plays in our favour. But they're a tough team to play against. We know that, and we've got to hope that we've got enough qualities. Something that just someone scores a goal from outside the box. It's that kind of game where you need someone to come up with a bit of magic, because you're not going to get loads of chances, I don't think, against a team like Burnley. So I'm worried about that game. But
it's a banana skin game, isn't it, Leon? It's one of them what we saw earlier this season.
Yeah, the Southampton, of course.
Yeah, the South. It reminds me of, like, I don't want it to be like a Wolves at home game where we lost the game in 15, 20 minutes of the first half, and we didn't turn up, as you know.
Those games still anchor me, to be honest, because it was at that point when we had the games in hand, and you think if you won those, we wouldn't be talking about being
Spurs.
So close to
it's funny.
Arsenal.
You look at those games that Spurs had. Spurs would be walking the top four had they got those wins, as we saw. Of course, Southampton in that week. It is obviously disappointing that we're. Listen, I think if you said to any Spurs fan going into the last 8 or 9 games, we've got a chance of top 4. When you look at how we started with Nuno, you would have bitten your arm off for it, would you? You would have bitten your arm off for it.
Yeah, definitely. No, definitely. So look, every game is slightly nerve-wracking, but Burnley in particular, just because we've got a bad record against them, really, haven't we? And it's recent. And I know it's at home. I know that plays a factor, but that's still really hard to break down. So
they're just frustrating.
Fast forward, the final day of the season doesn't get any easy. Well, it should hopefully be academic at the end of the season for Spurs. They've got Norwich. We'd hope by then, Joe, Norwich are down. And haven't got anything to play for.
Well, won't it? Because they're at home, so it'd just be them saying goodbye to the Premier League, hopefully, at that point.
But they got Tim Krul.
I must have. We've been here before with Newcastle when they went down, right? I think
exactly.
They got relegated, I just. Joe, any concerns for that final game of the season? If Spurs are in a position where it all comes down to that game for top 4?
I don't think so. I think if we're really playing for that to be our, must-win game to get the top 4, that we can do it. I'm not too concerned about that one. If that was Burnley or if that was Brentford, maybe I'd be a bit more worried. But I think Norwich, will be okay.
I hope top 4's settled by then.
Yeah, God, yeah.
I can't have them lot have to beat them lot, and we got to beat Norwich. Oh, I can't go through that.
I think for all of our sakes, we don't want it to go down to the final day. We've all been there as Spurs fans before. Yeah. We don't want to go back to what that was like on the final day. We don't. But what we will do is we will go for our final break of the show for our listeners that are on audio. Taking this break, you're going to hear from John Townley from the Claret and Blue pod. And also very kindly, we've also had another preview from Craig over at the Glam Pop podcast, who are giving their thoughts to us ahead of Aston Villa to come this weekend. And when we return, we'll give you a quick 5 on that as we look to close the show. Guys, thank you much as always for your incredible support. We've got, nearly 350 of you watching us live on a night where we've had Champions League, Premier League, and you guys are loyal to Last Word on Spurs. So thank you so much for all your incredible support. We've got a wonderful panel here who've given us their thoughts on Skippy's setback. We've had the top 4 analysed, and now we're looking ahead to Aston Villa to come this coming Saturday evening. Let's kick it off. Joe, let's come over to you. Villa, they've suffered a real dip in form under Gerrard recently. I think when you look at overall, it's 3 wins, 3 losses in their last 6 games. But, they've just won one of their lot. Well, I say that, you look at their form generally, they've dropped into the bottom half of the league under Steven Gerrard. Have you been surprised by Villa this season, how they've kind of meandered their way through since Gerrard's appointment?
Yeah, I was looking at the league just now and thinking it kind of... it doesn't really reflect how their form's been lately. I mean, you think they'd be lower, actually, considering how their form has been lately. And you would think a big appointment like Gerrard coming in would kind of really boost things. But look what's happened at Lampard at Everton. So it doesn't necessarily always happen like that, does it? So, for our sake, it's brilliant. They're low on confidence at the moment. We're going to their place, but, I don't think it's going to be too much of a challenge. So, I mean, prepared to have egg on my face here, but no, I think this is quite a good game for us to have now. We're full of confidence. They're not. Happy days, I think.
Leon, coming over to you, they just suffered a defeat to Wolves for Villa that, really poor for them in a derby that will mean a lot to their fans. I do feel with Villa, though, they'll look at someone like Everton and the way their season has kind of gone in a complete landslide. I think Villa will be happy to probably just to stay in the league, because I think when Gerrard came in, their situation was quite precarious. Gerrard has actually steadied the ship now, where they know they're established in terms of a Premier League side. They'll look to rebuild in the summer. I'm sure put some money behind him as well. I think the one player that I know me and Ant have spoken about many occasions that we're gutted that Spurs didn't maybe make the move for was Philippe Coutinho. You got any concerns about him being influential on the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, he's a great player, and I share that view. I'd love to have seen him at Spurs. I think he would have been good. Would he have been as good as Kulusevski? Probably not, actually. So I think we actually ended up making the right decision, if it was in our hands or not. But I actually think Villa are the kind of team that we play well against, because that they aren't going to sit back necessarily. I think that it's not in their DNA, that they will have a go. And yes, that their defense is poor. So I think they're the kind of team that we can play well against. I don't want to sort of be too cocky, but I think we can hopefully win that game. But need to be on our toes, because yes, they've got Coutinho, and I think that Gerrard. I actually think Gerrard probably will become a very good manager, because he's done a fairly decent job since going in there. Okay, yes, recent form's been tricky, but yeah, I think there'll be a game we have to be on our toes for, but we should play well against them, and they're the kind of team that we do all right. And yes, completely agree, Adrian. We need to score early. We need to score early in every single game. That's why the Newcastle game, when the first half. They were a bit slow and a bit sloppy, and you do start thinking. I know the other guys said that they were confident when Newcastle went 1 up, but I sort of thought, oh no, it's gonna happen, because
especially with the way teams see games out now. I agree with you, Leon. That's the worry. You go 1-0 down, but I do think, I don't know if you agree, Leon. Coming back to you on that, I think Spurs' character at the moment, they're not fearful of going 1 down. They actually believe they can score goals, as we've seen.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's the big difference. And the other big difference is that when we go 1 up, which is fairly rare these days, we like to do it the hard way. But if we go 1 up, we don't do what we did against Mourinho and even under Nuno, which is just sit back and try and grind out a result. We keep going, we keep wanting to score more. And I think that's a really encouraging part of our mindset and our mentality that we're missing from previous managers, and that has got to be down to Conte, hasn't it? So credit where it's due. But yeah, I'm confident about Villa. I've got a good feeling about it. But you can all laugh at me once the result comes in. But I feel as though we're in a good spot with them.
Yeah, and let's come over to you to start to close the show. I mean, Villa, we know Danny Ings missed their 2-1 loss over Wolves after the birth of his child, but he should return to the side. Lucas Digne.
I was about to say Danny Ings loves scoring against Spurs, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's got a good record, hasn't he? Really good record.
Yeah, he's got a great record.
Lucas Digne currently halts their doubts. Ashley Young is probably in line to deputise the former left-back once more. Douglas Luiz, a player Spurs were heavily linked with in January, may also return to that midfield at the expense of Morgan Sanson. And let's get a prediction. Let's get it underway. What are you going to go for?
I'll go 3-1 Spurs.
3-1. Okay. And
I
it's
think
back
we
with
will
us-
go 1-0. I think we will go
Yeah.
1-0 down though.
Okay, interesting. Okay. And it's back with us next Wednesday.
Ollie Watkins.
So we'll be getting Ant's reaction next Wednesday about how that's gone. Let's go around to Joe next. Joe, let's get your prediction. What's been a great day? We've been lovely having you on. Joe, what are you going to go for?
Well done, Joe.
Thank you. 3-0 Spurs. My prediction.
3-0.
Oh,
Confidence.
and clean sheet.
Confidence.
Love that.
Yeah.
Go
Every
on,
time
Joe.
I remember, that's why.
Is that an early goal in there as
Fantastic.
well, Joe? Is that an early goal in there as well for us?
Yeah, of course.
Amazing.
Sunny early goal. And
You can see Joe's on her debut because the confidence there. When you've done this show for a couple of years, as Ant has done, you don't want to do predictions anymore. He's terrified to predict.
Mate. Don't.
Brilliant, Leon. Let's come around to you. Let's close it, Leon. What are you going to go for?
I reckon 4-1, and I reckon
4-1.
a Kane double and a Son double. Double.
Amazing.
I'm confident. Kane's going to score. He wanted one against
Yeah,
Newcastle. He's going to score against Villa.
He's been in electric form, guys. It's been lovely having you all, and you're back with me next week with Cracks. We've got wonderful Kimberly Chambers joining us as well. It should be a really good
We've got
show.
Kimbo, haven't we? So
Yeah.
we've got Kimbo Chambers on. So I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to that. She's
Yeah.
a good friend of mine, and she's a lovely, lovely lady and a fantastic, talented author. So I'm looking forward to that. But
Absolutely.
credit where it's due. Well done, Joe. Lovely to meet you, Joe and Leon. Top guests, mate. Top guests.
Been brilliant. And very quickly, tickets still available for Blue? Are they all gone? Just for
Dunno
our
yet.
wonderful. Is it on sale already? See what I've done there? Try and entice more in.
I'm not going to. I won't be able to do the show when I'm on tour, will I?
We can see what we can do. We
See
might
what
come
we
to
can
you.
do.
We
You
can
come to me.
Crowd surf. A last
Crowd
one
surf.
crowd surf.
Come, yeah.
that.
Meet me backstage. Meet me backstage, Rick.
And
Yeah, and that's
10
all well. It's all going well. Touch wood. I don't really get involved with it. I just turn up and see what happens.
Does the job. The brilliant Antony Costa. Love having Ant back. He's back with us next week. Joe, been lovely having you on the show for your debut. Been a great debut. Joe, where can we find you across the socials?
You got my Twitter handle, Joanna Barlow. I tweet about Spurs and my cat mainly. So if you're into that kind of thing, give me a follow.
Does that mean the cat gets more tweets and Spurs aren't doing very well? Because there's been lots of
What's your cat's name, Joe?
My cat's called Willow.
interesting.
That's very Spurs, isn't it? I thought you were going to name it after a Spurs player like
No,
Ozzy
it
or
should
something.
have been- if it was a boy, it
Ledley.
would have been Delhi. So.
Oh,
There
right.
we go. Delhi never fails to get a mention. Unfortunately, he's not getting a mention much of Everton at the moment. Still can't get in the side there. Joe, been lovely to have you. We're sure it'll be the first of many appearances. Been lovely having you. Leon, lovely having you back on. We've finally broken the duck of you coming on after a game where Spurs haven't lost.
Yes.
Leon, where can
Yes.
people find you on social media?
Yeah, I'm Leon Emirali on Twitter, tweeting mainly about Spurs, but also a bit of politics as well. So go and give me a follow.
Amazing. Guys, Joe, Leon, Ant, been a pleasure. We will be back with you guys for live reaction on Saturday evening as Ant there gives us the memo. Come on, you Spurs. Saturday night special on the last word on Spurs. We'll be reviewing, hopefully, Spurs taking all 3 points at Villa Park. But for now, guys, from Joe, from Ant, from Leon, myself, keep safe, keep well. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Come on, you Spurs.